So in IP version 4, the transport address is in 1.1.1.1. So the LSR ID equal to transport address. So the in hollow packet, so the R1 router, it will send the hollow message. So the multicast address is on 224.0.0.2. In that hollow message, it will have an LDP. In that LDP, there should be an LSR ID. So the LSR ID should be choosing based on the first preference gives to loopback. If there is no loopback, means it will giving to physical interface. So it will take the LSR ID. So the LSR ID equal to transport address. So if its LSR ID is 1.1.1 means the transport address also 1.1.1.1. Okay. So likewise R2 router also, it will send the hollow packet. In that hollow packet also it will be showing. Just we can check it in R2 router. Here 10.10.10.2 is an R2 sending hollow message. Here R2, the LSR ID should be take it as a 2.2.2.2 because R2 router we can create one loopback interface as an 2.2.2.2. So this IP should be take it as an LSR ID. So LSR ID equal to transport address. So the transport address also 2.2.2.2. So this transport address indicates which one means first of all it will sending the hollow packet. So through the hollow packet it can learn the transport address. So once we can learn the transport address, it will it will generate the three-way handshake. So after establishing three-way handshake only it will send the labels. Here we can see first of all 10.10.10.1 it will send the hello message. So this should be a multicast address. In that hello packet it will send the LSR ID and transport address. In this is an R2 router sending the hello packet to multicast address because we don't know. So R1 router, so through the LDP only the neighbor relationship will be forming. So before that it will sending to multicast address 224.0.0.2. So in that packet it will have the LSR ID as well as transport address. So if R1 router, the transport address should be an 1.1.1.1 and R2 router transport address should be an 2.2.2. Now we can learn the transport address. So 1.1.1 and 2.2.2. So which one is an highest? It will be act as an active LDP and passive LDP. If it's an highest, transport address should be an active and lowest should be an passive. Here 1.1.1 and 2.2.2. Which one is an highest? 2.2.2. So the 2.2 will be initiate this session. Here we can see below packet 2.2.2.2 and here 1.1.1.1. So if 2.2.2 is an let's we can see this is a 2.2.2.2 and 1.1.1. Here it will be generate the initialization message. So the transport mechanism will be an TCP based. It should be working. Normally LDP is an UDP based. So in UDP based it will be working. So in just a hollow packet it will send the transport address. Once the two router can learn the transport address, the transport address should be working based on TCP. So if it's TCP means it will be creating three-way handshake. After completing three-way handshake only it will send the labels. So that's why only 2.2.2 and 1.1. Which one is the highest? 2.2.2.2. So the 2.2.2 is an active LDP and 1.1.1 is an passive LDP. So active LDP first initiate this session. So that's why only here we can see initialization message. Here we can see the so here we can see the TCP transport. So the active LDP should be an highest port number and passive LDP should be a well-known port number 646. Here we can see 646. So here so the transport address should be comes under TCP. So it will generate the three-way handshake. This is an initialization message and R1 router will send the initialization message plus keep alive message, and R2 router also it will send the keep alive message. So afterwards only it will distribute the labels. Here this packet, see address message label mapping message. So in this packet only the R2 router will send its locally assigned labels to R1 router, and this packet R1 router locally assigned labels distribute to R2 router. So first of all we can click this R2. packet. Just double click, it will open in new window. Okay, so in LDP, label distribution protocol, I will explain everything. So here, first of all, addresses. What are the addresses? Here we can see 10.10.10.2 and 20.20.20.1 and 2.2.2.2. So this all the address should be directly connected in R1 router. This is an R1 R2 router sending packet to R1 router. Source is an 2.2.2 and one destination is an 1.1.1. So 2.2.2 is an active LDP and 1.1.1.1 is an passive LDP. Okay, so here FEC element we can just expand this everything. So first one is a prefix, so the label mapping message. So here only each and every network it will map the label. So if it's direct connector network means it should be an impact null. So the label it should not be assigned any label. Instead of that it will showing impact null. So the impact null should be comes under label 3. So 0 to 15 is a reserved label. So impact null means by default the label number should be a 3 if it's direct connected network means. Here we can see 1.1.1. So it should be an indirect connected network. So the generic label. So here R2 router the 1.1.1 network it will assign the label as 2000. Next come below FEC element and FEC element 1. So here the prefix should be a 2.2.2. So the 2.2.2 is an R2 router direct connected network. So the label should be an 3 because it should be an implicit null. Implicit null means it will not assign any label. So the implicit null indicates a reserved label. If it's direct connected network means the reserved label should be a 3. So that's why only here showing generic label 3. Next we can comes to next FEC element 3.3.3. So the 3.3 is an indirect connected network. The R2 router will assign the label as 2001. Next one is an 4.4.4. So the 4.4.4 it will assign the generic label. The 4.4.4 network the generic label it will assign as an 2002. So next 5.5.5.5. So the 5.5.5 it will assign the generic label as 2003. And next one, so next one is an 10.10.10.0. It should be a direct connected network. It should be an implicit null. Implicit null means the reserved label should be a 3. So that's why only is showing generic label 3. Next one 20.20.20. This one also direct connected network. It should be an implicit null. So that's why only generic label 3. Last one. So 30.30.30.0 is an indirect connected network. So the generic label it will assign as on 2004 because in R2 router we can assign the label range as 2000 to 2999. So it starts from 2000. Here it will assign 2004. Here last one is in 40.40.40.0. So the generic label is 2005. So likewise the R1 router R2 router it will send its label to R1 router.